The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is the West Stand. We debuted this show at the start of the 24-25 season. Nearly over, Michael. We're almost on the home stretch.
Mercifully, we are getting towards it.
Yeah.
But I have enjoyed it, to be clear. All the wins and that. I'm being top of the league.
You look really, really delighted, yeah.
Very tiring.
Laugh a minute stuff, isn't
Very
it?
tiring.
You'll find it on YouTube and in your podcast app as well. Guests from across the world and the orbit of Leeds United. I'm Dan Moylan. With me is Michael Normanton, as you just saw.
Hello.
NordVPN bring you the show.
That's good of them.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nord.
We've worn those guys down now. They've been with us a while.
What do you need a VPN for, Dan?
If you want to browse privately and buy airline tickets and things like that without cookies punishing you for going back onto websites again.
See, I asked you, and now you're floundering.
I am floundering.
Difficult,
but
isn't it?
This is not my part. You know this comes every time.
I bet you don't even know how many devices you can put
10.
Nord on, do you? Oh, okay. Do you know how long the money back guarantee is?
30 days, and it's the fastest VPN in the world.
Oh, good.
So I think I've ticked all the major boxes from the read there. You can protect your private data when you're on public networks, that kind of thing. But yeah, you can find geo-blocked, locked stuff from around the world. Or if you want to watch your club's in-house TV streaming service at some point, let's say.
When you're not allowed to in this country.
Go somewhere else, virtually. Yeah. NordVPN.com/TSB. You will find the link in the episode description box. Yeah, and you get your money back guarantee for 30 days if you change your mind. But you won't. I'm sure you won't. NordVPN.com/TSB. Jonny Cooper, our guest for today. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for coming back. Your role today as a fellow statman, because you work for Opta, doing stats and Leeds United things, is to tell us why it's all going to be okay. I know it's going to be okay because as a fellow spreadsheetman like you.
Yeah. A bit of behind the scenes gossip, actually. I did see Dan's spreadsheets before the show and they are incredibly impressive.
Jonny was stood over you, chatting through them like a 7-year-old showing you some drawings they've done. He was going, "Oh, it's really good, that, isn't it? Jonny, I like what you're doing with the colours. That's lovely."
I did actually say that.
You like my conditional format?
Yeah, the conditional format is fantastic. Like, really good. I genuinely do think conditional format is a good thing. That's the most boring thing I've ever said, but it is true.
Yeah.
What is that? What have you drawn? Is that a horse? Oh, it's a dog. Oh, I can see now. Yeah, that's a lovely dog.
What I'm saying is there's a lot of green on our part of the spreadsheet because we're going up as effing champions.
End of show.
Yeah, there we go. So, Jonny, tell us why, from a data perspective anyway, things are going to be all right. I know. I'm taking comfort in what you do here.
Yep. To be honest, talking just as a fan rather than from the data, which we'll obviously get into, but I am not unduly worried, just in general. And that does probably just come from looking at the data and seeing it, because we have been the best team in the league all season. And you just got to rely on the fact that will get us over the line eventually. The numbers are saying we are one of the best teams, the champion, that Opta has on record in the last 12 seasons we've got. The numbers are pretty much unparalleled.
All right, Jesse Marsh, with your underlying metrics.
I know, yeah.
And I'm hoisting you by your own petard.
Thank
and exactly
you.
the same petard that I am, taking comfort in here. But we're dead good. And I look at like the data that you see for Burnley and the stuff that's coming up for them. And I think it's just a hope rather than an expectation that they regress to the mean and they just drop enough points that allows us to get over the line. That's how I feel about it. But it is very tight at the top.
Yeah, it's tight at the top. I've been looking into the numbers on that. And in the 21 seasons of the Championship, 17 teams have had 78 points or more at this stage, and 6 of them have been in the last 2 seasons. So when we've been...
Is it becoming more stratified?
Yeah, it's funny because you think about the newly promoted teams in the Premier League now. That's going to be 2 seasons in a row where they all come straight back down again. And then the top teams in the Championship are getting stronger. So it's almost like the bottom 3 are getting weaker in the Premier League, top 3 are getting stronger in the Championship. Because
there are leagues within leagues in the Premier League, you can clearly see it, can't you? Although some of the boundaries that have been broken, like you've got Forest who've smashed through the glass ceiling a little bit this season. And
well, it could have been us with obviously the first season under Bielsa, how well we did. That was one of the best promoted seasons ever. In fact, just going on off on a tangent, but when we've been promoted to the top flight as a club, we have done exceptionally well in the first season. I think you've looked 64-65, finished second. 1991, finished 4th under Wilkinson, then won it the year after. And then under Bielsa, finished 9th. And I think in the 50s as well, when we had John Charles, finished 8th, which was a really good season as well. So we do tend to do well that first season.
So it's foolish to look on past events and hope that they indicate future events. However, because you've said that, I'm very comfortable with next year's Premier League if we get there. What about you, Michael Normanton?
No, not at all.
You know, me neither.
We'll struggle probably if we do go up.
But then again,
that's tomorrow's problem.
But look at, like, I was going to say, just in terms of like the breaking up of the Premier League into separate smaller leagues, in the same way that Forest have kind of broken upwards and Villa have more recently broken up into that upper echelon, Spurs and Man United are living proof that high revenues do not guarantee anything. So balls to your revenues. Have a good football team.
Ruben Amorim has turned that club around.
Right.
I don't know if you heard.
But they don't strike me as a very good football team.
No, they're terrible.
No. And obviously you do need a very good manager, which we did have last time we went in. Obviously, we can get onto, if we get promoted, we can get onto Farke's record in the Premier League, which is statistically the worst of any manager. Probably this season, a couple of pushed him close, I think.
But as we've already decided, Johnny, it's silly to look back on previous events as an indicator of future performance. So let's not do that.
Fair enough.
For this particular example.
No, I mean, if you look at the gap, like we're talking about the 6 teams of the 6 of the 17 teams with 78 points or more at this stage. And then you look at previous years, 2021 Norwich, Farke's Norwich, 8 points ahead of second at this stage. Fulham, this year after, 8 points ahead. Burnley, the year after that, 14 points ahead. And then last 2 years, we were level on points last year and we're 2 points ahead this year. And it's just frustrating that it just happens to be Leeds.
It's prolonging the agony, isn't it? I think when we got that little gap just starting to open up with the Sheffield United and the Sunderland results, you thought, this is it, it's game on now. And actually, we regressed to the mean a little bit.
I think I did tweet that every team who'd been 7 points ahead after 34 games had been automatically promoted, and there were quite a lot of replies to that tweet, which I thought I'm not going to read because it's just going to be people abusing me.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough.
You're making people feel sad, Jonny. Yeah. Although it is worth saying, like, I know you've been mocking my spreadsheets, but I find it interesting just to chart the ebb and the flow of the game. There was an 8-game spell, just not too long ago, actually, sort of 4 games ago, that ended with us getting 22 points out of 24, which is a lot. And I think that was probably around the time when we did Sheffield United and Sunderland. And that it's not sustainable, is it? Getting 22 points out of every 24 is just, it's a bit much to ask. And I know everybody thinks Burnley are never going to lose again, and Sheffield United will keep getting wins in tight games, and Leeds are going to collapse. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Like you say, you would hope that it just over the course of the remaining 8 games, it starts to even out and looks a little bit more normal anyway.
Well, time moves really quickly, doesn't it? Like we had that midweek where we won and they dropped points, where I think Sheffield United let one in right in the last minute, didn't it? And all of a sudden we're on this high, and then the weekend comes and we lost. I think was that the Portsmouth weekend? So,
yeah, it was the Millwall midweek. They dropped points on the Tuesday, then we won against Millwall on the Wednesday, and then it got round to Portsmouth, and the bad thing happened.
QPR,
sorry.
Yeah, lost, all falling apart. Beat Millwall while Sheffield United and Burnley dropped points, all fine again. Drop points at QPR, all terrible again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we averaged about 17.5 points out of every 8 games. So if we got that from here, I think that'd be all right.
I wouldn't trust it, though. I just feel like we might need to win a few more.
Yeah.
Just to be certain of it.
Yeah. What do you feel like it's probably going to take based on like historical data, Jonny? What do you think? Do you look at like last year as an example, and it was 96 and 97?
Well, last year looked like an outlier, and then we've got this year came round again. So I think I remember coming on last year and speaking about it, saying, this will never happen again. And
so basically, we've just invalidated the whole point of this show and everything we've ever said.
Yeah, but it's like the...
Justify your job, Cooper.
Sorry, I mean, but it's like the season we went up under Bielsa, that was a lot closer than you actually think it was. We were 10 points ahead at the end, but there was a lot closer, even leading up to, I think, when we beat Swansea. I mean, the Barnsley game was incredibly nerve-wracking. We didn't play particularly well that game at all, but then we ended up winning it by 10 points, even though the gap at this stage was level, and West Brom were actually ahead of us going at that point. So, it's football. Every season's different, I guess.
We've talked about this a bit, haven't we? That we now reconstruct that Bielsa promotion as a bit of a glorious romp, but it was pretty tight until the end. Like there was a bit where, I know Pablo is the game. You look back on it and go, it's almost done now, and it kind of almost was, but it was almost done because everyone went, because we'll piss the Barnsley game, and that turned into just the worst sort of couple of hours of my life, to be perfectly honest. But I was watching that, and I was obviously on a stream, but I was watching it. I had a parallel screen going with like a bookmaker's website on, because that was slightly ahead of it, and I couldn't bear to know what was unfolding live wasn't what I was actually seeing. So I had like 2 screens on the go to monitor them both, and it was horrific.
It's what I was doing here when we because we watch the games on it. It's a legitimate Sky feed, but it's always slightly behind because it's just a stream. It's just the nature of it. So I very occasionally get drawn into FOTMob and just watching stuff come in, or WhatsApp groups, for example, where people will go, "Oh, for fuck's sake," or something like that, and you go, "Oh, something bad's about to happen." There we go. I'll look at that. Or something good. But yeah, that Bielsa season, it's absolutely remarkable. And I know it was stretched out over, well, this run started in February when we beat Bristol City off the back of that Brentford draw that kind of reset everything post-Forest. But from that Brentford game onwards, we only dropped like 5 points in the remainder of the rest of the season. So from mid-February till the conclusion of the season in late July after the COVID break, we only lost at Cardiff and then drew with Luton. Everything. We won every single other game. So yeah, the finishing table and that late season run masks what was a hideous middle of season. We only won twice between drawing 3-3 with Cardiff and that Brentford draw. We've properly wobbled, and we've not wobbled to the same extent this season.
No, I don't think that's why I said let's just look at what the data's saying. We are the best team in the league. Let's just trust them to get it over the line this year. Yeah,
we had 2 fairly significant blocks of wobbles in that season, whereas this season we've had kind of spread out defeats and dropped points. It's been a very rare thing, and we've generally recovered quite well. And I suppose it's spooked everyone a little bit this time because it's been draw, win, defeat, and then draw again. But that is just late season football.
Yeah. We've lost 1 out of the last 20 league games, which is pretty good, and we should really have won that Portsmouth game on another day. Peru puts 2 of those in the back of the net, doesn't he? So that was the biggest XG on record we've had that we didn't score in.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Right. So we should have won that then by rights.
Basically.
Right. Great. What else can we pull from these I don't know, these paranoias that have sprung up in the fan base? For example, early kickoffs. I know you've looked at that.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of trying to figure out the midfield combination that works best as well, because there was a little bit of second guessing from Farker around Gruev and Rothwell after that good performance from Rothwell.
Yeah.
So what does the data show?
Well, the early kickoffs is just, again, bizarre. A little bit like the record in London where we just terrible, absolutely terrible. And that seems to have translated into early kickoffs. So we've taken 1.09 points per game in games that have kicked off before 3 o'clock. Then in games that have kicked off at 3 o'clock or later, we've picked up 2.52 points per game.
Right.
A massive swing. If
How many games is that over though, do you know?
Yeah, so that's 11 games before 3 o'clock. We've won 2.
Right.
Drawn 6, lost 3. And if only those results counted, which is obviously incredibly hypothetical, we would be 17th in the league. So it's bizarre. You cannot explain why we are so bad early, whether it's, I don't know, changing the pre-match food rituals, whatever it is, but obviously we were 2 down so early on against QPR, and it's bizarre. I can't really explain it, to be honest.
So our defeats this season, and Burnley at home was a lunchtime kickoff, which was it felt like you couldn't put a cigarette paper between the 2 teams that day. It was decided purely on that slip by Solomon that just happened to expose us in transition from that corner. Other than that, you could easily have seen that one finishing 0-0 in the same way, I suppose, that the away game did. Millwall, that was a 7:45 kickoff, so no excuses for that.
No,
is that the Millwall factor?
Yeah,
it's just Millwall.
London.
Blackburn was a 1:30 kickoff but that's off the back of a midweek game. So I wonder, did that affect things at all?
Thing is, it shouldn't, should it? There's no logical reason why an hour or 2 in either direction makes any difference. Physiologically, it can't make a difference to the players. Like, you know from yourself, you don't often feel, absolutely shattered at 12 and fine at 3, do you? Or vice versa, unless you've been up to something. But, generally speaking, it's the same situation, you would imagine. And Blackburn's not exactly far. And also the way footballers travel these days, we're not doing a long distance coach on the modern of the games, are we? They're down there before. It's very strange. Just looking actually at where we have dropped points, I mean, there are exceptions to this, like the first couple of games of the season. Like, we should have beaten Portsmouth on that opening day, let's face it. It just felt like just a bit of a madness that unfolded that day. And I suppose you can excuse the West Brom game. That was a 12:30 kickoff, the one that followed it, second game of the season. But we've tended to drop points in the sequences where we've had games close together as a general rule, I think, when you look at it. Like, we beat Coventry at home in late September, then into October,
we had the midweek fixture at Norwich, followed by the Sunderland game on that was a Friday, wasn't it? So there's a lot going into that sequence in a short space of time. And I know it was the Melier Rick at the end of that cost us the points, but games in close succession there. Again, the Bristol City away game was off the back of a game 4 days previous. Millwall defeat was off the back of beating Plymouth at home. So I wonder if maybe just the tight turnaround between games is possibly a bit of a factor there as much as anything else, rather than the early kickoff.
Yeah. Well, there was obviously criticism from the weekend of not rotating the midfield, and that was part of the reason why we were 2-0 down, people were saying. So that could be a factor.
Yeah, what's going on in the midfield then? Because it's something I accidentally stumbled across when we were chatting the other day too. Was it Adam Pope or Baron Cross, one of the two?
Yeah. I'm very impressed actually, because you text me and I'd not even spotted this, but all your work on the spreadsheets is paying off.
That was just honestly that was just
this is me clapping.
It's just Wikipedia. That was just Wikipedia. I ended up going. I thought, well, I want to know if there's something to this. And again, it's me just taking refuge in data and stats to try and make myself feel better and think actually there is a formula to this, and it's just to play Gruev in the away games or Ampadu.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Tanaka and Rothwell overall, and when Ampadu or Gruev are playing, there is very, very little difference overall, home and away. It's like 2.13 points per game when Ampadu or Gruev are in midfield, compared to 2.09 when Tanaka and Rothwell are playing. But then away from home, completely different. We've got 1 win in 8 games when it's been Tanaka and Rothwell starting. I mean, the caveat to that is that Rothwell came on for Gruev at Sheffield United when we were 1-0 down, and then we won 3-1. But as a basic rule, when either Ampadu or Gruev have started away from home, we're picking up 1.18 more points per game.
And is that down to, do you think, structure and solidity maybe that you get from that? And as you know, Gruev didn't cover himself in glory in that. Which game was it? Was that the game? It was Portsmouth. He struggled a little bit, yeah. And like you said, he was taken off in that one, and we went more front foot. But you do wonder sort of more broadly if that's the issue there.
Yeah.
Away from home.
I think just Ampadu being in there in general makes us a lot better.
Yeah.
I think there is a big difference when he starts and when he doesn't. I mean, he started nine games in midfield this year, and we've conceded 4 goals, and 3 of those were against Portsmouth in that crazy game,
which we refuse to accept. Because it doesn't fit our way of thinking.
Well, sometimes with data sets, you need to remove the outliers, don't you, to improve the data set.
Right. Are we doing that?
And we'll do that, yeah.
Good.
Very good. Yeah. But yeah, that was a crazy game. Obviously, we've been through that loads of times, but play that game 99 times again, and we win 99 times. But yeah, I think Ampadu being in midfield definitely just better. Just as a fan watching the game, we're just controlling the game so much better. It's
strange you said about the fact that if we play that game 100 times, we win 99 of them. I think that's been a bit of a frustration this year, looking on the amount of times you look at like a Sheffield United game or something, and you can see they've won, but actually the XG's been pretty tight, or they should probably on balance have lost it. They've had, you're like just looking through some of the basic stats, you're like, they've had less possession, they've got a lower XG, they've had fewer corners, and they've won 1-0. And there's a bit of that's not fair, is it?
It's not, but I've got a theory about that, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I think it's just because they've got better players than the vast majority of teams that they play against, and that's like, you know, maybe you could argue that their January.
So have we. So why do we not ever do that?
But maybe you could argue that their January recruitment was a little bit scattergun, but the options that they've given themselves, and it's the same with Burnley. They've added like Edwards and some more goals to their teams. I think eventually, if you stay in a game or stay within a goal, it seems to be one of the modus operandi of the managers at this level this season, because Farke does it as well. It's about control, isn't it? And I wonder if there's a similar sort of thing going on with the other two clubs. And we know that, you know, Burnley are fairly risk averse, and you just rely on a good player digging out an individual moment. But it's like you've said before, Michael, I suspect we probably forget the times when it's gone in our favour.
See, I don't think that's happened at all this year.
What, we've pulled one out of the bag?
I feel like it's very rarely happened where we've got points from a game we didn't deserve.
Yeah, but
there's ones where you could maybe say it's been in the balance a bit, and maybe we've.
But would you not say that's because we've controlled just about every game, and it's only very few that we haven't?
That's exactly what I'm saying, though. Yeah. But that isn't the case when you look at Sheffield United and Burnley. Sheffield United will have a half of football where they're absolutely terrible, and then they'll win the game 1-0 in the second half. We don't seem to do that. We seem to be on top throughout more or less every game. I suppose that maybe exceptions would be like Blackburn away. We were very poor in that, and I don't recall us creating much.
West Brom at home as well. We got the early goal and then gave up a degree of control, and they snuck back into it, and we never properly got back on top of that to the extent where you felt like we were going to smother them. But then smothering the opposition is not really Farke's way, is it? In the same way like it was Bielsa, where you'd have 6 or 7 men arriving in the box. It's more about being patient and working it and waiting for your opening. But then again, I think that is genuinely a hallmark of all the top 3 sides this season. Well, to my eye, anyway.
I agree with what Michael says there. Like we've not had a game where you don't feel like, oh, we've got 3 points, or whatever. And the West Brom game, you would say that was a point apiece that was probably deserved. Like if either team had won that game, you could probably say, yeah, they probably deserve it. So we did actually deserve a point in that game. It wasn't like we got a point and we were lucky with it. You know, we probably did deserve a point. So
yeah. Could that be just down to the fact that every statistical model shows us as a huge outlier and being that much better than everybody else? But I suppose at the end of the day, you know, it's 11 against 11 is a football match, and no matter how superior you are to the opposition, you still need to find a way to win. And for whatever reason, you know, Sheffield United and Burnley, but Sheffield United in particular, it feels like they just dig out goals, and people have described them as lucky. But you know, you make your own luck, don't you? Really, I suppose you got to defend bravely, like I heard that they did against Sheffield Wednesday, because I didn't watch that before Sheffield United scored. But
yeah, I think Sheffield Wednesday should have won that game.
Yeah,
really, on the balance. But again, 2 things with Burnley and Sheffield United, they've got very, very good goalkeepers.
Yeah, and resilient defenders as well.
Yeah.
So, and you only need to be better than the opposition, I suppose, as well. I was getting at with the whole 11 against 11 thing. If you can be better than the opposition, eventually your chance will come.
Yeah.
Based on the stats, then, what should we do in midfield?
Well, I think the thing I was looking at was that the midfield is a bit more attacking this year. Obviously, we had Kamara, who was afraid to shoot a lot of the time last year. That chance at Huddersfield where he was 5 yards out and passed it to Somerville is what always sticks in my head. So this year, from starting central midfielders, they've had 72 shots compared to 38 last year. So it's a big increase. 17 shots on target compared to 8 last year. And 106 chances created compared to 85 last year, with 8 games to go as well, which is good. Again, Gruev only had 1 shot on target last year in the league, and then had the 1 in the playoffs, where he's had 6 this year. So he is actually having more attempts.
I can tell there is still sort of a mental hangover from that, because when Tanaka scored that second goal against Millwall, there was just a little part of my brain went, oh, that's a surprise.
Yeah.
A central midfielder just popping up with a goal.
Well, he is the only one who has scored. The 4 goals this year, they're all Tanaka. But
Rothwell's been unlucky in that regard. I think not that he's been taking lots of shots and been missing out, but you feel like his skill set, for example, you could imagine him on free kicks.
Yeah.
You know, maybe curling one into the top corner, but it's not really come to pass, that, has it?
I feel like he will get one before the end of the season. He's due one.
His Ben White moment.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we'll take that. But he's created 42 chances from set pieces, which is the most in the Championship this year.
That's Rothwell.
Rothwell, yeah.
Right.
Which is a big improvement. It's the 3rd most on record by a Leeds player in a season. So here's a little quiz. Who are the other 2?
When do the records go from?
2013.
Ooh.
Creating them.
Mm-hmm.
So are we thinking now free kicks and corner takers, that sort of thing? Stephen Warnock.
No, I like guess though.
Pablo,
Yeah, that makes sense.
45 in 2016-17 when we scored from a corner every week, or it felt like that.
Rafinha.
No. He is a very good player, but he was very good for Leeds anyway. In defensive midfield.
Calvin
Phillips.
Did he?
Yeah, 47 in the season we went up.
God,
that's surprising.
All I think of when I think of Leeds corner takers are people having it headed out at the near post.
Yeah.
Well, even people who are evidently good at them, it's still kind of what I picture.
But it's what we've said loads of times, isn't it? Your brain like zeroes in on all the things that are wrong because you think this is what we do really, and you kind of dispense with all the positive bits that run counter to that argument.
There was that thing earlier in the season where I said that 25 of our last 100 goals had come from corners, or it was something like, it was about 25% anyway of a certain amount, and you just like, that's wrong, Johnny. Like, who are you? That's wrong.
So is the midfield's been that much more attacking? Is that just in comparison to last year mainly? Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the fullbacks? I know you've had a look at what the fullbacks have been doing, because they're fairly instrumental in the Farke system. You see them bombing up, and they either go on the outside or they invert and tuck into like a wide number 10. Hence why Junior pops up in such fun positions all the time.
Yeah. I love seeing Junior playing in the 10 role. I think he did. There was a home game recently where he was just like in the role, just knocking past it. I'm thinking he could probably play there.
I was going to say, with Aronson out of form, is there an argument for?
Well, funny you should say that. So since the start of February, only 3 players in the Championship have created more chances in open play than Junior Firpo. But one of them is Brendan Aronson.
Right.
Surprisingly. He's created 16, which is the 3rd most. But on Firpo, he could definitely play in number 10. I know he plays up front, doesn't he, for Dominican Republic?
I think he just plays where he wants.
Yeah, he just does whatever he wants.
I presume he's the best player for Dominican Republic because he's probably the most high profile. So you would, wouldn't you?
You would put him up front. But yeah, since New Year's Day 2024, he has the most assists in the Championship, which is 17 in 46 starts. So it's almost like 1 in every 3 games he's getting an assist. 3 assists against Cardiff in 1 game. Was the first Leeds player since who to get 3 assists in a game?
Pablo again?
No, we're going back to 2003. So talking of spreadsheets, when I created the years ago and I was looking at assists and collecting assists, I've had that stat ready to go for about 9 years, and nobody's done it until now. 2003.
2003, so post-Champions League era. Nick Barmby.
No, but in that sort of, yeah.
Viduka.
No. A winger.
Harry Kewell gone?
Just after Harry Kewell. It was about a few games. At first, the season after Harry Kewell left,
right,
this player assisted Lamine Sacco, Zoumana Kamara and Mark Viduka. If that gives you any hints.
Have you blocked a lot of this out in your mind? I have.
No, I was actually considering Lamine Sacco as a guess because Bay just played well once, I think, was essentially my memory.
I've just sort of generally filed a lot of this away as I don't want to think about that.
Jason Wilcox.
No, he was on loan for 1 season.
Oh, Jermaine Pennant.
The next clue was going to be, wasn't very good at remembering where his car was.
Yeah.
That was the next one. But yeah, 3 assists against Middlesbrough in 2003, and nobody had done it until Firpo. Against Cardiff,
Isn't it?
Is quite crazy.
It's mad. Now you've said that, my brain's just gone, yeah, I remember that. I don't know if I do. I don't know if I'm just, if there's some sort of confirmation bias there, but that seems to like ring some sort of bell now you've said it. And
Yeah, last minute goal, Viduka, I think, lobbed it over Mark Schwarzer. Yeah, one of the very few wins we got that year. But yeah, just a nice reminder of the past.
So for an absolutely dreadful season.
Yeah.
Speaking of wingers, and Dan James, there's been an argument for him maybe being Championship Player of the Season this season, and I've certainly put him right up there with the best players that we've had at Leeds this season, along with Altanaka.
Of course.
He's been good.
Yep. Yeah,
He's
very good.
Presumably borne out in the stats.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'd noticed when I was at games is that every time he got a chance to have a shot, he was just getting it out of his feet and shooting. And obviously, we look at the data all the time of like player shots and things like that, and I'm just used to it getting in my head. So I had a look, and he's having the most shots per 90 minutes in the season since Bamford in the season we got promoted. Bamford, 3.7. Dan James, 3.4 this season. Obviously, Bamford had so many chances that year. We created so much for him. But he has now gone 6 games without a goal, 22 shots without scoring. So
if ever there's a player who's going to score against Swansea of all teams,
yes, yeah.
You were advocating, was it you advocating for Nonto because he always scores against Swansea? Yeah.
Nonto does well, Pirro does well.
So get your money on it now. Nonto and Dan James to score against Swansea after the break in a comfortable home win.
Brendy on the bench. Maybe. Potentially.
We'll see.
But it's strange actually because at QPR he didn't have a shot at all, whereas he'd had 3 or more shots in his previous 9 games and then just didn't have a single one. He does keep doing that shot where he cuts in on his left foot and tries to bend it in the top corner. He does that quite often and tends to put it straight into the crowd. So
yeah,
I did have a look. He's only scored 2 left-footed goals for us. So
yeah, he does tend to do that thing of shooting across the keeper where he's found it to be most fruitful. And of course, you know that as a kid you were always coached, weren't you, to put it across the keeper, because if the keeper spills it, your mate's there just to tap it in.
Exactly. Yeah, and his finishing has improved a lot. I know he's just said he's gone 22 shots without scoring, but was it the second goal at Watford where he was 1-on-1 and he just smashed it in? You're thinking like a few years ago he might have missed that, and it just seemed like just seems to have sort of slowed down. Like he runs really fast and then slows down, composes himself, puts it in.
Yeah.
So hopefully he returns to that at the end of the season. But he's also got 9 assists. So can you name the last Leeds player who got 10 goals and 10 assists in a league season?
Rafinha again.
It's not Rafinha.
Pablo again.
It's Pablo. 2018-19, he got 12 goals, 12 assists. Brilliant.
What a player.
Yep, amazing.
It's funny, isn't it, how with the passage of time, the longer it goes on, you go, how did he ever play for us? Basically a relegation haunted side after that first season back up. And he was brilliant.
Yeah.
He just oozed it. He just oozed class.
Yeah. Look at what he's doing now at Barcelona. He's just insane.
A one-man team, I believe, these days, Barcelona.
Lamine Yamal as well.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we could bring your mate. Come back.
Come on.
Bring your mate. I have concocted this this silly fantasy where Rafinha wins everything there is to win at some point at Barcelona and goes, do you know what? I want to go live back in Harrogate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With my beautiful wife, my beautiful dog. I had such a nice time there.
Still got his Leeds dog lead, hasn't he?
Exactly. And if ever there was a sign, that's foreshadowing, isn't it?
Oh, it's just a man who's
Just
not,
a lead.
not bought a dog lead for a while. Just like, oh, this one works.
Right.
Fine.
Who did he comment on someone's post recently?
Was it Pascal?
Was it Pascal? Right, yeah. And everyone was going mad.
Still mates with him.
Yeah.
Come back.
They were the good times.
Let's get the band back together.
It will genuinely help us signing players that Rafinha has played for us.
Yeah.
Because people will go,
Come to us and come to us and you can leave as well.
Yeah.
Well
nice.
done. Which is probably genuinely the way that they sell it these days.
Well, it is. Well, look what I said about when we get promoted, we tend to do well the first season, and obviously Rafinha was a huge part of that. So they should be selling it. Look at the stats from 1990 when we finished fourth. Come and do it again. Come on, we won the league the year after.
What else have we got then? So we were talking about wingers. Dan James is shooting a lot more. We were good in February.
Yeah, February, because that was just an incredible month.
You mentioned Watford there. Was that in February?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, there was 11th of February. I actually got it in front of me. It would be really nice with a 7-0 win, a 2-0 at Coventry that could have been 7, and a 4-0 win at Watford that could have been 7, followed by Sunderland and Sheffield. What a 5-game run that was.
Yeah. It was brilliant. It was perfect. Well, it was perfect.
If we could just rediscover that feeling again within the team, that level of confidence.
Well, this is, I think, how fast football moves, because all of a sudden it just felt like he's taken the handbrake off and we're just going to swat teams aside. Obviously, Sunderland and Sheffield United are slightly different, but the Cardiff game, I remember turning to my dad, I think at 2-0, and just saying, like, it's going to be one of them weird games where we get like 5 or 6 goals and nobody's really expecting it, but we just do it. And yeah, it was amazing. So yeah, hopefully we don't have the stress of thinking of promotion for the last 8 games, and we just beat everybody 7-0.
6 games. Sheffield Wednesday, Norwich, Burnley away, Cardiff at home, Coventry away, Watford away. Didn't concede a goal in any of them. 6 games without conceding a goal.
Was after Melier had dropped the ball at Hull
yeah.
straight away, and then I think I came on just after that talking about goalies, and he just went and kept 6 clean sheets.
And then obviously the goal, the game that he did concede a goal was the Sunderland game, but then he got to celebrate in front of the away fans.
That was brilliant,
towards the end of that. So more of that, please.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at Cardiff, obviously biggest win since Southampton in 1972, the famous game. So the first one in our lifetimes, I can confidently say, in this
correct.
room. Yeah, 1972.
Bit upset you had to look at us twice then, but never mind.
Cheers, Jonny.
Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, obviously brilliant. And then I'm just looking at the other wins that we've had by 7 goals now. History, there's only been 9 others. And 3 of them were in October 1967.
Wow.
With 3 wins we beat Spora Luxembourg 9-0 and 7-0, and Chelsea 7-0 as well.
Right.
In that month. And then since then we've had 3.
I'd like us to beat Chelsea 7-0 in the modern era. That could be fun.
It's possible.
I mean, I've deleted the Twitter app off my phone because, well, just for the sake of my own sanity, quite frankly. Yeah. And life's much better without it, let me tell you. But if we were to beat Chelsea 7-0 in the modern era, I'd be right back on that and I'd be unbearable. Let me tell you.
Well, I'm pretty sure, I think, I could be wrong here, and people listening would probably know better than me, but I think the 7-0 against Chelsea, Billy Bremner scored an overhead kick for the 7th goal. And then he was banned for about 6-7 games because of some, I don't know, disciplinary issue. But he got sort of like signed off and just went, have an overhead kick, 7-0, and that was it. So there's a good picture of it in one of the old Leeds history books.
Again, talking about these little stories you tell yourself and narrative you construct. We've got opponents from South Wales at home in our next game. Could we? I mean, Rob was asking for more 7-0s this season. Could we do that and just make everybody dead confident again?
It's possible. Our recent games suggest they have a playing style that helps us out with the high line and the general chaos that's being created in those games.
Although that manager's gone, hasn't he, now? And it's Shee's dog who's running things down at...
Is he the permanent manager now?
I believe so, yeah. I think so. I don't, unless they've appointed. So I'm not really across all my Swansea news. Hugely disrespectful, I realise, but yeah, just get out there and win Leeds. I mean, we do know scoring first is really, really important. So if we could do that, that would give me a degree of comfort. And if we could do it early, I know we did it early against West Brom, and it came back a little bit in the other direction, but still, it feels like a different proposition facing Swansea at home than West Brom. Yeah.
I mean, the scoring first, 75 unbeaten in the Championship, which is a joint record.
Wow.
Equalled Burnley, who did it between 2013 and 2022. And yeah, this season, 120 drawn 3 when we've scored first. We scored 58, conceded 7 3 of them. Again, 3 of them were against Portsmouth. That seems to come up all the time, that game. But when we score first, yeah, it's time to sort of relax. All right, relax.
Which
slightly.
we did against West Brom, and it backfired.
Yeah, I know. Bad time to say it, but yeah. And the other thing as well is picking up points when we've gone behind. Because I know sometimes it feels like, we're 1-0 down, we're never going to come back into it. But it's, the stats don't really back that up. Is that since the start of last season, only Liverpool and Man City have picked up more points when they've been losing than Leeds. We've picked up 40 points.
Because it always felt to me like the first goal was crucial, and if we conceded it, then we were in bother.
Yeah.
But actually, we're not as bad as we fear.
Weirdly, yeah. I mean, the QPR game, 2-0 down. First time we've come from 2 down in London to avoid defeat since 1972.
Right.
We'd lost 64 in a row in London when we'd been 2 goals behind.
So actually, does that frame that as a slightly better point than, because everyone was annoyed that we didn't win that game, but actually, we could have done. But all in all, bigger picture is it's not too bad a thing.
Yeah. I mean, it was weird, that game, because we didn't really attack properly at any point, and we still scored twice. So you kind of feel like if we really had gone for it, we would have put 4 or 5 past. I mean, got a QPR supporting friend who before the game just said to me, it'll be 5 or 6-0, Tanaka will complete 200 passes. And I just said to him, it's an early kickoff, we're in London, we're rubbish at Loftus Road, it does not work like that at all. And then obviously...
I'd love to know, Jonny, if there was I don't know how you would frame this from an Opta stats point of view, but like a Leeds Cup final expected points type measurement. Because everyone seems to up there. What I'm saying is everyone seems to up their game against us.
Yeah.
Like
Cardiff didn't.
That's true. But no, like if you look at how QPR performed against Sheffield United, which they probably could have actually won that game, but it was a very different feeling to, like, and for example, like Swansea at home, for example, when they were at home to Burnley, felt very, very passive, whereas we went to Swansea and they gave it everything and it was absolutely mad.
Yeah.
So why is everybody trying harder against us?
There was a stat, I can't remember which season it was. I think it would have been the Bielsa era, I think, where the teams who had beaten us had then gone and lost their next game. And all the teams who had beaten us, the points per game in their next game was the lowest in the entire league. It was like they were just giving everything in that game, and then next game,
well, the most recent example is Portsmouth, isn't it?
Yeah,
losing to bloody Plymouth straight afterwards. And then again, Millwall got thumped after they beat us in the Cup. And that was Plymouth as well, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think so, yeah. They lost like 5-1 at Plymouth.
I think so, yeah.
Plymouth all the time. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to test that from the games earlier in the season as well. But I'm not going to sit here and make you listen to me Googling football results. Not this time, anyway. Not this time. Anything we can wrap the show up where you can make us feel good and happy, like the "and finally" bit of the news, like a water skating squirrel.
We're going up. There you go.
That'll do.
Back it with a stat.
Well, every time Liverpool win the league, we win the league, and Liverpool are going to win the league. So
yeah,
I think it's the last 3 times Liverpool have won the league. We've won the league. So
isn't it funny? Football's funny like that. That's why I say you kind of laugh at a semi-stupid suggestion that we've got an opponent from South Wales next, and why not put 7 past them as well? But like, look at this Liverpool Leeds axis thing that's going on. It's not real, but we've all told ourselves it's real, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's like when you look at results in London from going back decades, and you go, "Well, good point, actually." Given we failed to come back against Chelsea in 1972 or whatever. It's good. It's good point.
But we are definitely going up. So 100%.
Oh well, geez, don't put me. Don't.
A statistician doesn't do 100%.
I can't do 100%. But like I say, I looked at the stats all season. As Michael said, we've been better in every game almost. Statistically. I think the difference in shots per game and shots faced is the biggest difference on record in the Championship. With hardly facing a shot, having loads of shots. Let's just trust. What was it? Trust our swing, Howard Wilkinson. Do that.
In the running in 1992, trust your swing.
Perfect.
Yeah. All right. So there you've heard it here first. If you want to direct your ire at anybody, it's at JRCooper26 on Twitter, which you won't find me on there at the minute because I'm hiding. It just scares me. But you've said we're definitely going up based on the data. I have obviously said no such thing, and I think data is not to be trusted.
Unless it's yours.
Unless it's my own data, and it's only the bits that I like.
Okay.
Cheers, Jonny. Should we come back at the end of the season, actually, and we'll weigh up how right or wrong we were? I think that'd be fun.
Yep, absolutely.
Maybe during the playoffs or something like that.
Oh, Jesus.
Which we won't be in.
No.
Leeds were the first team to reach 97 points and finish 3rd ever.
And somehow finished 4th.
Yep. Great.
Right. We will wrap it up there. Cheers, gents. Just fingers crossed. I think no matter what we say about data, no matter what we say about any of this, fingers crossed.
Yeah, we're all Leeds fans. Let's do it.
The Square Ball Podcast.